From the studios of Foxboro Cable Access, located in the center of Foxborough, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxborough.
Hello, and welcome to Around Foxborough, the show where we talk about the people, places, and things that make Foxborough the gem of Norfolk County. My name is Mark Rivard, and I am pleased to have as my guests today, Diane Linehan, Meredith Roderick, and Heather Konatska. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on the show. So I hear we're going to talk about Phelan-McDermott syndrome. So Diane, you want to let us know and let everybody know what that is?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to tell you a little about Phelan-McDermott syndrome, and it is a rare disorder, and it is caused by a difference in chromosome 22. So it's a genetic disorder. Largely, though, it's referred to as de novo, means it just happens. It's not something necessarily in all cases that is passed on from parent to child. But it's caused by a variation in chromosome 22. So, you know, we all have 23 chromosomes. So number 22 is ours. And if you think about it, we call it 22q13. And that's because it's, I think of that like the address. So all chromosomes have, you might remember pictures from your science class. There's long arms and short arms. So 22 is the 22nd chromosome, Q is the long arm, and 13 is the very tip of that, that chromosome. And though it's can be caused by a variation, which means could be a deletion, could be a misspelling, something is going on in that location. And even though it's a very tiny location, it can wreak havoc, on in our cases. You'll learn that all three of us have children who have this syndrome. And so what we know about that 22q13 is that in almost all of the cases of Phelan-McDermott syndrome, it includes, there's a lot of genes, but there's one that's in common. It's called SHANK3, and it is a scaffolding gene. So if you think of it, it is something that produces a protein that helps the body create neural networks, create and maintain them. And so if you think of like this is your neural network or your nerves, and they fire, and then there's another nerve, it might say, oh, move that muscle. And the bodies of people diagnosed with Phelan-McDermott syndrome don't have strong networks, and these cells are everywhere in their body. So you will find as you talk to each of us, our children are a little bit different. People with Phelan-McDermott syndrome can be impacted, their brain, in their heart, their digestive system, kidneys, any organ in the body, and to different degrees in different children. But it's all goes back to that 22q13. That's what's in common, is that variation on the tip of that gene. And so that's a little bit about Phelan-McDermott. It can cause things. How does it show in people? Our kids can have seizures, they can have digestive issues, they can have developmental delays, communications disorders. For instance, in my daughter's case, she spoke until she was 7 years old, and then she abruptly lost everything. And so there's a characteristic of deletion, of regressions that can happen either abruptly in a younger child, or sometimes it's a neuropsychiatric regression later in life. So that's one of the characteristics of Phelan-McDermott syndrome. So I don't know how I feel like I'm
Well, I
talking a lot. I'd like to tell you about the foundation too, but we also want to hear about everyone's child.
I'm also curious, because you say that a lot of different symptoms. So it could be when it first starts out, you're not sure exactly what it is. How do they get it down to this syndrome as opposed to something else? Because there's so many different. I mean, we're going to hear more, obviously, because I'm sure your three children are different in their symptoms of what they're going through, but it's the same disease. So how do they know? I mean, I guess that's.
Yeah, the diagnostic journey can be different for everyone, we can each, tell you about ours. My daughter wasn't diagnosed till she was 21. So so we were diagnosed, she was diagnosed just in general as autism spectrum disorder, but we always knew we were different. But the genetic testing just wasn't fine enough to catch it. And we just kept saying, okay, well, there's this regression, these characteristics, this low muscle tone, something else is going on here. And then by the time she was 21, the diagnostic genetic testing caught up so that they were able to catch that deletion. And it was, bittersweet, right? So it was like, oh yeah, that's it. Like we could have written the description, but too bad, that's it. It's pretty devastating. So, but mostly I would say that, for us, it was, a 17-year search for a reason why things were just so unexplained that teachers and doctors didn't know what was going on. And so there was some relief in that. But I'm sure, Heather and Meredith have their own story of diagnosis.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. I mean, go ahead, Heather, you were gonna speak.
My son is 18. He was diagnosed when he was 2.5 years old, because we went to see a developmental pediatrician, and she had read an article in a medical journal about Phelan-McDermott syndrome. She'd never met anybody with Phelan-McDermott syndrome, but when she saw my son, she felt that he had a lot of the characteristics of what she read about in the article, and she decided to do genetic testing, and it came back that he had Phelan-McDermott syndrome. So we were really fortunate that we just happened to see a doctor who had read about it and decided to do the genetic testing, and he was diagnosed pretty early.
Yeah, and Heather, we have a very similar story and are very grateful for our doctors at Children's too, who Matthew was diagnosed with autism at 2. But we had a neurologist who said, I don't think that's it. My son Matthew is very bubbly, very wants to be engaging. So she wanted to keep pushing, keep looking. And I'll never forget, she suggested that we do genetic testing. And we said, okay. And she's like, but I don't know that the insurance is going to cover that. So we talked about it. It was right before Christmas, and it was a pretty big decision to go through with genetic testing or to kind of wait it out and see what it was. And we did, and we were diagnosed. Matthew was diagnosed with Phelan-McDermott syndrome, and very much like Diane said, it's a blessing because there's an answer for the first time, which is really nice to have. And then, like Diane said, we got involved with the foundation pretty quickly and realized that it's the best family you wish you weren't a part of. But it's and then there's just a lot that comes along with the diagnosis as well, but there's definitely some positive support there as well.
It's pretty much a shame that you had to even think about saying, is insurance going to cover this, or something, because you're going through all these emotions, you've had all these different tests, what could it be, and then you finally have possibly the solution, which turned out to be the solution, the genetic testing that told you that it was this. So I guess so what are the treatments? I mean, are there treatments for it? Any kind of, medication, therapy, or is it just something that you have to work through on a daily basis, I guess? Anybody wants to answer?
Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
so
All the
no,
above.
no,
Okay.
There's no Phelan-McDermott pill.
Right.
There's no cure or medication that you say, oh, you have this, and then it's more looking at the characteristics of the way Phelan-McDermott syndrome manifests in the child. So if they have seizures, you're following that path, and with epilepsy, you might need seizure medication. I know with my daughter, she has a sleep disorder, GI. We didn't know. So this is one of the things I just feel so bad about, when we didn't have the diagnosis, that she was in such pain because she had such bad GI issues. That was causing sleep problems. It was all sorts of things. And so once we found out about it, we were able to give her medications for it and treat that part of her Phelan-McDermott syndrome, that manifestation, and it made her life a little bit easier. So it's more of, that you treat
General.
how it manifests. But I don't know, I know that the boys have different issues. And
I mean, I know for us that when we received the diagnosis, we were Andrew was already in early intervention at the time, but we were just thrust into a world of therapies, and how many therapies and how many hours of therapy can we give to this child who's not even 3 years old yet, in trying to, and at the age of 18, developmentally, he's still a toddler. So did the therapies help? I'm not sure if they did or not, but I know that he enjoys being around people. He enjoys working hard. He enjoys his school program. He enjoys therapies. I don't know how functional they've made his life.
Yeah, and
Meredith?
I would say similar, Heather. So Matthew was diagnosed when he was 4. He is fairly healthy, which we are very blessed with. His biggest symptom of the syndrome is his developmental delay. So he is 13 and is about a 3.5-year-old intellectual ability. So same as Heather, we've got OT, PT, speech, lots of therapies when he was younger. He is heavily involved in the ABA program, which is applied behavioral analysis, which is a specific learning tool used very commonly for children with autism, but it works very well for Matthew. He has limited language, but it's something in our family we've learned to celebrate inch stones versus milestones. And so when he learns words and, you know, he's started to say sentences, we find so much joy out of that. So that's really, you know, how he also has some sleep delays as well. And so that puts a little bit of a hindrance on his learning, but he continues to move forward, which we're really grateful for.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I've a little experience, not with the syndrome, but a friend who has an autistic son. So I can see how that can be very similar with the developmental growth, where they may be, you know, years behind, but they're taking baby steps along the way. And it's good that you're actually, you know, making a big deal out of every little step, because it just makes them feel so much better. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, we stopped comparing a long time ago, and really started celebrating what he can do instead of looking what he can't do. So that makes a difference in our world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the foundation, because I know, you know, there's, you've all met through this. Did you all know? You probably didn't know each other until you started together with your children. And so tell us about the foundation, and there may be other people out there that are wondering, you know, what is my son or daughter? What's going on with them? Could this be a symptom? Could this be something that they could have as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think it's something that we think is highly underdiagnosed as well. And I think about that in our story. If we had made the decision not to do the genetic testing, we wouldn't have known that this is what Matthew had. And so just maybe I can tell how we got involved with the foundation. Then Diane, if you want to talk a little bit about the foundation itself. Sure. But for us, I think as most people do when they get a diagnosis, what's the first thing you do? Oh, Google away, right? What is it? What does it mean? And luckily we found the foundation right away. And we're kind of a jump feet first and kind of people. And so the foundation was great. They reached out to us as soon as we kind of registered and say, hey, this is what we've been diagnosed with. And we met our regional rep, and she, you know, sat down and talked to us. I have now become the regional rep for this area of Massachusetts, which is really exciting because of the experience I had when I first joined the foundation. But it was the first time in a long time that I was able to be like, yes, like have somebody else that's been able to share an experience to say, oh, my son is not the only person in the world that does X, Y, or Z. It is such a feeling of belonging to say like, okay, yes, my son or daughter does that too, or I've had a similar experience. And for me, that's really where the foundation gives us a lot of strength, is bring families together. Part of my role as a regional rep is to get families in this region together, to be able to share stories, to be able to connect. Because although all of our children are different, there are some similarities, there are some shared experiences. So that's just one part of what the foundation does. But it's really, really critical, I think, and has been a lifesaver in our world to be able to meet and be with other families who have a shared experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have friends who have a friend who has a son who has hemophilia. They have met so many people through the organization, and they've all gotten together. They become friends. The kids become friends. Everybody's sharing the experience together, as opposed to being, what am I going to do? I'm all alone. This is so new to me. How do I handle this? And obviously, when you have other people in the same situation, you band together, it makes it even stronger and easier. Yeah.
I would say that my introduction was very similar to Meredith's, and that, so mine was, a 17-year search. So I was like, I know what your name is and I know where you live. So I did the same thing, Google, and was able to connect with someone at the foundation. And, just like Meredith, feet first, and, what can I do? I just felt very strongly that, even if there isn't something that we can do for my daughter, she's 31 now. If there's something that we can do to help other families, then that's what I, wanted to do. And the foundation was formed, and this is the 20th anniversary of the incorporation of the foundation. So there were families way before us. There were, just a handful of families, and if you can imagine, they got together with the researchers. It was 1988 when Dr. Phelan and McDermid and Dr. Curtis Rogers first described in a paper a person who had a deletion on 22q13 with low muscle tone. And so that's like a characteristic for all of us. So it's kind of one of those things that you look for in the diagnosis. And so that was really the first time that it was really acknowledged and published. So that wasn't too long ago. But all of those people who started the foundation are still with us, part of our family. And that family support piece is, one of the pillars, and, just so critical because, we do things like we have the peer-to-peer support, like Meredith, our regional rep, but we also do regional gatherings, and we do an international conference every 2 years. And I can remember, probably both of you, I walked into that conference shortly after my daughter was diagnosed, and it was life-changing. I never, ever had, met someone, known someone, seen another child. And when you think about it, the foundation now serves close to 3,000 families worldwide. Half of those are in the United States. About 50 of them are in New England. And at last count, and this is not official, it's an estimate, but the last scientific publication I saw were at least tenfold underdiagnosed. And we get families now that have adults like my daughter who have never known, and they, they're not doing the genetic test, but these adults are living with it. Some of them come to us because they've had some sort of neurologic or psychological regression, and then they go to their doctor. The doctor says, let's do some genetic testing, and whoa, it turns out to be Phelan McDermott. That explains a lot. So we're getting older families as well as families who have the newborn and younger children. So we not only do the family support, but we also advance research. We have a patient registry. It's called the Data Hub, and we collect and curate genetic information, and we can share that with researchers. We also help families break down barriers and get involved and understand where the research is, and so we do that. And then we also do awareness. I don't know if you saw, Heather got us into to light up Gillette Stadium, right? Green in the city of Boston, really green recently. October 22nd is Phelan McDermott Syndrome Day, and that's huge for us. I don't know if you ever go to our YouTube channel, you'll see all around the entire world, there's something connecting about it to see, Mexico is lit up, and, and families are doing this. We have just these impassioned, wonderful, dedicated families, and, to see everybody working together and connecting for one cause is to, make lives better for people with Phelan McDermott. It's, it's quite touching, I think, just to see it. And and I don't know, Heather, if you gave a link to we're doing our Phelan Lucky campaign right now.
No,
So
but
a lot of fundraising.
that.
And so I don't know if you're prepared to talk about that, or I know I can see that I have my shirt on.
I have mine too.
All right.
Wearing my
Well,
shirt.
Heather,
It's
let's
pretty
talk
cool,
about
so
it.
I don't know, Heather, if you want to talk about it,
Yes, I do want to.
or anything else too.
It was really interesting how I actually found the foundation, which I don't have an official role in the foundation, but my son, as I said, my son was in early intervention. When he was diagnosed in 2005, there were 500 families worldwide that had been diagnosed. So this was extremely rare. Now, one of these other families their child happened to be in early intervention with my son. And because of privacy law, neither family could be told that there was another family. So our early intervention very sneakily put our kids in a play group together and had us do a parent group at the same time that our kids were in the play group. And so I was in a parent group with the woman who was at the time running the website for the foundation. So she's the one that told me about the foundation and the website. And it was just amazing. It was amazing to be able to connect with another family when you think about 500 people worldwide and how small a world it is that we ended up in the same early intervention together. So Phelan Lucky is it the biggest fundraiser, do you think, that the foundation gets the most money from the Phelan Lucky campaign every year? Diane?
Yeah, we have giving challenge as well, so that's a big one, but over the years, yeah.
It was started by one of the parents to tell the story of her son, Jack, and they design and sell T-shirts and other merchandise gear that they sell throughout the month of January. And she has done a great job of getting famous people, sports stars, actors, musicians, people in all walks of life to buy these shirts and wear them and post them on social media as a way to get people to buy the gear. So they're sold, I think, is it January 23rd is the last day that you can purchase Phelan Lucky gear, and then everybody wears them for St. Patrick's Day. And my son's school every year so far on St. Patrick's Day and on our International Phelan McDermid Syndrome Awareness Day, which is October 22nd, has all dressed in green and worn their gear and posted pictures on social media. They're very, very supportive of my son. It's great. It's fantastic. But yeah, everybody wears their gear and everybody posts on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And it's just it's community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think
it is, when you talk with Jen, the mom, Jen, some people ask, why are you lucky? Because it's Phelan Lucky. And, her thought when she created it was, how lucky am I to have these other people? So how lucky are we to have each other? Because nobody's lucky to have Phelan McDermott syndrome. And that's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is we choose to look at, what are the positive things that we have to help us to help our children and to, create a better life. And it's this community.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. She's told me that's what it's about. And she's an incredible force. And so, you can only get them. I don't know if this is going to air, but you can only get them until the 23rd, and then you can't get them till next year. And once you see them, you'll want them.
So where can they get them? Where's the website?
Yeah, I'll put a link on the front page of the website, but you can go to Phelan Lucky. So hashtag Phelan Lucky, and it will show up. The page is on Facebook, I think.
Facebook,
yeah.
Okay, we'll definitely put that up on the screen, everybody.
Okay. Yes, we can send you the link too, so that
Yes,
you'll have.
please do.
We can
Please
pop it
do.
up. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you for letting us know about this. Phelan McDermott Syndrome Foundation. I didn't know about it. But honestly, I'm glad I do, and I'm glad we get to have you ladies on because, like I said earlier, people don't know. Maybe their child is going through this. Maybe they have the same condition.
And
it was 22q13, right?
Right. Some people say 22q13, 22q13 deletion. It depends on how your doctor interprets your genetic report. But I would say, I would like to say, if there's a few minutes, I would like to say, if you're diagnosed with it, please join us. Come to pmsf.org/join and become a member. Then we'll get you hooked up with somebody like Meredith who lives near you, who can help you, can give you information. We have information on the website, but it's really that human connection that makes all the difference in the world. And then the other thing I want to say is, if you know someone or you have a diagnosis of autism, and you have a gut feel that something else is going on, trust that gut. And unfortunately, like earlier, Meredith said, you have to wonder whether the genetic testing is going to be paid for or not. Unfortunately, our system is like that. You've got to push. So if you're a person who has someone in your family has autism, you're saying, I don't know, there's some regression going on here. I see some low muscle tone. The developmental delay is more significant. Something's going on here. Trust yourself, go to your doctor, ask about the genetic testing. Your doctor will tell you which test is right, but generally it's like a microarray. And yes, the diagnosis makes a difference. Because I've had people ask me that, after all these years, she's the same. Does the diagnosis make a difference? Emphatically, yes. And not just because you get this great family that you don't want to be part of, as Meredith said, but you can more easily treat the the medical aspects, and you can also connect with other families and researchers and clinicians, and you can help. We all help each other. So yeah.
I think that's a big point, Diane, too. It's under also having access to doctors who know this disease, right? Just like Heather said, her doctor just happened to read a paper about it. I've encountered many doctors at some of the best hospitals that have never heard of it.
Right.
And have to, I end up educating them when I'm in the room. And so to be part of the foundation too, to talk to doctors who know what this is and can talk to it is really very impressive as well.
Right.
We're really fortunate to be in a state that has some of the best hospitals in the country, and some of the and doctors who treat multiple families with Phelan McDermott syndrome. So they're well versed, and researchers. There's a lot of research going on right now. So, I feel very fortunate that we have an educated medical team.
And that isn't the case with everyone, around the country, but you can get information from other parents. You can get information from the foundation to help, even if you're in a, not in a metropolitan area or near a large university or medical center. So. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you very much for joining us and letting us know all about this. Diane Linehan, Meredith Roderick, and Heather Konatska. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you
so
for having
much.
us.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for Around Foxborough. Have yourself a great day.